Good morning from Australia, good afternoon or good evening or whatever time it is in your part of the world. This is still only 35 cents. Welcome and thank you for joining for today's show. We have an epic team up. I'm very proud and privileged to have future past vintage collectibles joining us, Dave and Rachel.
Hello.
How are you?
Here we are.
Really good to see you. I have been a fan of the channel for the longest time, and been on many of your claim sales. Yeah, many different names. I started on a different name and then eventually moved to still only 35 cents.
What was your first? What handle were you at before that?
I was Everyday a Story.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah,
it was long ago.
I remember the teething problems I used to have. The lag in Australia is always real.
Yeah.
But yes, it's been an absolute fun journey, seeing all the great books that you present. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to get us together. I've got some books that you sent me recently, as well as some CGC graded books from books that you graded and sold. But before we get into any of that, I wanted to know your superhero journey and a little bit more about the channel for those people that don't know and haven't come across you.
Well, so for me, I was into comic books as a kid, and then I started seriously collecting in the late 80s, and then started selling books in the early 90s, right as CGC was coming online. So I've always been into it. My brother was heavier into it. I was actually heavier into music. So I was really into music and some other forms of art. But what ended up happening is my career took off, and for 20 years I didn't collect. I just carried the books around. My former position I was in for 14 years, I was actually a CEO over a group of businesses. And I was very passionate about it. But as the pandemic hit, my passion waned. And I really started questioning what I want to do with this next chapter, which could be the last chapter. I don't know. I'll let you know if I live long enough to have 2 more chapters. But I know there's one, right? So I decided to do what I love the most, thought about it. It could have been anything. I have a lot of business experience, but I chose comic books out of passion. So it's something I could get behind. When I thought that, it had a lot to do with my family. I have 2 daughters. Rachel's one of them. I also have Sarah, and they all live here. And I really thought if we could do something together, it would be an opportunity in my life to really take a step back and spend time with family. And I got Rachael involved after I'd been involved about 1.5 years in collecting and decided to do this. We've been working together for 3 years now. Wow, Rachael, 3 years, right?
I know.
So, it flies. So really that's kind of the 1-minute version of like why I do this, but I've always been passionate about art. When I was in school and college, every class I could take on art, I took it with a business degree, and I've always just been fascinated with all forms of art. Comic art is a genre that I really enjoy. Not as much on the superhero side. So I've always been involved more in non-superhero characters that excited me more. And my brother has always been, everything. So in this journey, he never stopped collecting. So he's like, we talk every day and we just really enjoy the hobby together. So it really did bring my family closer together. And when it comes to selling comic books, it's I just do this the way I've done every business and really put my ethics and values behind what I do. That's the only thing that gets me up in the morning. If I wasn't passionate about it, if I didn't love it, I couldn't do it personally. I know there are people that probably sell books that aren't in love with comics. Well, I'm in love with them and other things, movies, science fiction. So I'm a geek and I've been undercover for a long time, but I'm out and proud. I'm saying a lot.
Everyone knows now.
But that's the thing that I love about the stream. It's yes, it's a claim sale, but then equally you really get the sense of family there.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's good.
It's good, and it's entertaining as well because you do learn stuff. Like there's books that you show that I wouldn't normally have dug into, and I'll take you might notice every now and again you'll put something up that most people don't bite on, and I'll go, I'll take
that. Yeah. Well, I'm like that. So,
yeah.
One of the interesting things about this hobby is I learned a long time ago that it's me that needs to drive the bus. So, other people might be really interested in things like, I don't know, Amazing Spider-Man 300. That is not a grail of mine. Do I think it's an important book? I think it's a fundamentally important book for McFarlane, for Spider-Man, for comics, right?
Yeah.
And then everything that happened at Image afterwards really sprouted from that. However, for me, that's not what gets me as excited. Not that I don't get excited if I saw a real nice copy, but it's nothing like, I don't know, believe it or not, things like this.
A raw hug. Let me make you big so that we can show everyone what that looks like.
And I just happen to have this. I just sit next to me, and I didn't like, I'm going to show this it's just incredibly high grade. Bone white pages. I have tons of stuff like this. And so I'm like you. I see something that I like. I'm not buying it because I think it's going to be incredibly valuable. But as a comic reseller, I know that there's going to be collectors that may want things off the beaten path, and that's where I live. So I really decided to just focus on what I know best, which is the Bronze Age, and continue to learn, which is amazing. I mean, how much I can learn, how much I didn't know,
Yeah.
And I thought I did. It's one of those humbling, you eat humble pie your whole life, and hopefully you get full at some point. But I've learned I continue to learn so much from the people, on all of our social media and in our streams. Someone will correct me, and I'm always happy about that. I'm here to learn. But it's like you. It's like if I'm not exposed to certain things, I'm not going to know about them. And sometimes it's love at first sight. I take one look at a book like, oh, just the cover resonates with me, or the theme. We had what book was that? Forbidden. What was that book that I found yesterday?
Forbidden Planets, #1
Forbidden
by
Planet,
Innovation.
Innovation. It's got Robbie the Robot on it. Now it's a book I almost didn't sell it. I found it was like an 8.0, and that's not the grade I collect, but I love Robbie the Robot, and I had a hard time letting it go. I sold one a couple weeks ago, and then now I guess it's hot. There's been some stuff. This is the thing, Dave. I like books not because they're hot, because I like them, and I laugh when now this is exciting to people. I like Dave Stevens 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I like all that stuff. I really loved it then. So I get excited when people are introduced to it. And it makes me a little sad when it turns into spec and it does one of these numbers. Right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like I only like it because I think I can make money on it. That's not always the case with me. If that, I don't know what I'm talking about. But
it makes sense. It totally makes sense. It's a really good point. And I'll come back. I've got a question for you, Rachel, in 1 second. We have people in the chat, so I'm just going to quickly bring up. We got Action. Hey,
hey, Action.
Hey, my man.
I thought we'd say hi.
Hi, Action.
Anyone in the chat, if you want to pop in and say hello, that's great too. And any questions you've got, we're happy to answer them as well. But Rachel, I talk about learning new stuff. I think the thing that I've enjoyed as well is watching your journey over the last 3 years, right? Like from now you're an Uber grader, right? From all accounts.
She is.
And knows more about the books. In the old days, I remember the old days, it would be like you weren't as knowledgeable, but now you're like completely not even correcting Dave, right?
Which I love doing that. I love correcting him. No, I went into this not knowing really anything about comic books. I just I like art, and like I was in a career that I wasn't happy about. And when my dad said that he wanted to start doing this, I was like, I'm interested. Like, you can't do this alone. Like, you probably could have, but it would have been hard. And like I was in a weird spot in my career where I was like, I'm ready to change. I had been working in retail for decades at that point, and I was ready for something different. And even though I didn't really know anything about comic books, I knew that there'd be things that I liked about it, because every part of like nerd culture exists in comic books too. So I was like, I'm sure I'll find things that I like, and I ended up finding a lot of things that I like. But yeah, I went into like not knowing how to grade anything to now where I feel like I could grade anything, which is crazy to say out loud. Even low grade stuff, I feel really way more confident now, just from exposure. And yeah, the knowledge that I've gotten over time just from being exposed to this every single day has been really interesting. And there's just like the things I remember now. I'm like, I don't know why I remember that, but I know who this artist is by the way it looks. And like, never thought that I'd get that knowledgeable, but it's really just exposure. Like I look at comic books every single day. And if you look at comic books single day, you definitely retain a lot of information over time.
She jumped the shark at some point. I can't quite pinpoint, but there was a point where she didn't care that much about comic books. Like she could take them or leave them, and I don't think that's ever going to be the case in the future. So,
no. Well, my husband is a vintage game collector, so like I've already like been exposed to collector like mentality, I guess. Like I don't know, and so it was really easy to like jump onto that with him, and so it's been kind of fun for him and I to both find like comic books that we both like, and then I also just like fell in love with Doctor Doom. He's my favorite Marvel villain.
That's an expensive taste right there.
It is. So I spent both on a comic book that I ever did on that book right there.
Yeah, you should have grabbed that one and shown it. You've never shown it before. It was interesting because she wasn't interested and then she got interested. So we're at a point now, I'll get a collection. And she doesn't want me to open it without her, which I think is kind of funny, but I love it, because I know that feeling, that there's a feeling of like, I want to go through these books the first time,
Yeah.
I certainly don't want you to spoil it for me. Don't tell me everything in there, and every book, oh, this is great. I've never seen this. Oh, hey, Nathan, her husband, who also works with us full time. Oh, look at this. And so she had none of that, let's say a year and a half ago, where now she really does enjoy the art form. She enjoys comics, and there's characters she likes more than others, and she started to buy them. That was the biggest switch over. She was like, I would never spend X on that. I'm like, but you don't know what it's like to want to buy one so much that you're willing to come up. And we went to a convention, and tell them what the first books that you bought were.
Oh, I bought
it's the first book she ever bought with her own money.
Raw books.
It was the Labyrinth limited series 3 set. They were all newsstand too. It's really exciting. They're my prized possessions.
Yeah, at that same show, we both got a copy. I bought her a gift. I got her a copy of SpongeBob #1, and I got one for myself. So I think she likes a lot of things that resonate with her, in her sense of nostalgia. What makes her feel good. So yeah, it's been really fun to watch her kind of come alive for the hobby. And now my brother has even had conversations with her, about comic books and grading, and wow. It's great. This is what I wanted. I created a lot of incredible bonds with people I've worked with in the past. And it's just my style of leadership to do that, and I need other people that are passionate as I am around me, that know different things than I know. It's just part of, being in a good ecosystem, a healthy ecosystem for me. Yeah. Yeah. And Rachael and I work so well together. We absolutely never argue. We go out of our way to help each other. And she's one of the best people I've ever worked with in my life. Just happens to be my daughter too.
Yeah.
So it's great to love and care about. Yeah. It's great to love and care about somebody and then be with them every day. And we don't have to say anything to each other. We finish each other's sentences, and it's just great because we didn't have that kind of time before we did this.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say never work with your family. And there was a time in my life that I felt that way. I don't feel that way anymore. My perspective of family is any moment you can spend with your family is a gift.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. And we get that gift keeps on giving with Rachael and I.
Yeah. That's really cool. I did have a quick question based on what you just said, Rachael, as well. Given that Nathan likes video games, does that ever crop over?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hang on.
No problem. You talk about Zelda and those sort of comments.
Sorry, hang on a second. My audio got messed up. Oh, no.
So, Dave, I did get a whole bunch of books and thought it might be useful to sort of show some of these.
I'm so sorry. Something really weird happened with my audio. Oh, no.
Can you hear us now? Dave, can you still hear?
I can.
Oh my gosh!
I don't have earphones on. I'm just going live and uncensored.
I asked that question again? I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem. So the question was, does it ever cross over in terms of both your worlds, the comics and the video games, like things like Zelda and the Blip magazine? Has that crossed over to Nate at all?
Absolutely. Like he's really into like all of the like anime comics.
Yeah.
And we had like a set of Silent Hill IDW books that were like from 2015 or something, and like we sold them through our Instagram claim sales. So he was like, I want those. So yeah, it definitely crosses over. Obviously, a lot of the video game stuff is like in comic books is very expensive, so like it's not, and also hard to find like in decent shape. So, but yeah, he definitely
For sure.
He's also a manga fan, so there's manga characters that he really likes, and it's interesting. I think that anything you do, you should, if it's available to you, you should like it. Sometimes you work to make money, and sometimes you're able, if you're lucky and focused and you're in the right position, you can work to do something that's fulfilling. So I think Nathan gets fulfillment from what he does with us, and it's very technical. He actually is a cleaner and presser. He's been doing that for a year and a half, and he's gotten very good. So it's like that's helpful to me because we go through a couple thousand books a month, and some of them need to be pressed. So just that amount of books, and it's probably going to go up, is a lot to process. So it's great to have these two on my team. Yeah.
So you mentioned clean and pressing. Do you do a lot of that in terms of some, particularly like the near mint mints? Do they get, or because the quality and the way that you deliver the book?
Typically, yes. I think anyone would be hard pressed to say that they're going to find a bronze or copper book in 9.8 that has not been pressed.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it necessarily improved the grade that much, and that's not always what it's about. Sometimes it's about making sure the book's flat, doesn't have fingernail impressions. Some things that it might be able to get a 9.8 with, but in hand, you want a book that looks a certain way. So even CGC is very used to grading pressed books, right?
Yeah.
They're very used to it. They see that every day, all the time. They press books as well. So if we're just going to talk about the transition from going raw to graded, it's interesting. I press books. I have a lot of books that need a press in my PC. I won't touch them. Because I know I can. And it's like, okay, so that goes away. It's still the same book. So sometimes, I'm not the guy that's going to try to stretch a book into the next grade to the point that I damage it or that it looks really pressed. There are times that it's okay. Like if it's a 3.0 and a press makes it flat and it's not, or a cleaning. Dry cleaning comics is a really it takes time to learn how to do that correctly. And it's probably one of the most beneficial things. It just gets the dirt off it. It helps, to retain the luster that you want it to. Even down to how I bag and board something with a board in the middle, and you've seen the progression.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really important to have books that are solid and stiff when you hand them back and forth and you're looking at them, and not necessary to slab it to get that. You can have that in a bag and a board. But if you don't do that accurately, you could actually damage the book by moving it around, just showing it around, I'm really excited to see the stuff that you brought because I did not look at the list. Rachel did. She knows.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did tell him. I told him it was on the list.
Well, she had anxiety. I want you to know. She
really? Does she have anxiety?
She gets grader's anxiety. She wants to make sure that we're accurate on our grading. We're passionate about this.
Well, this is great because I can give you the original grades as well that you gave them versus where they ended up. But this is like, I just wanted to give everyone a sense of how the books come, how well priced they are too. Like that's the other thing that's really good. So, before we get started on this, we have a couple more people in the room. So we have Marcus Circumstances. What's up?
Hello.
Good to see you, mate. And artist extraordinaire Locke.
How you doing, Locke?
You love. So he does some great. If you ever get a chance to check out his Instagram.
Sure.
But this is how your books come. I'm going to try and make it big so we can see it and chat.
Okay.
So this is a near mint minus. Bear in mind, everyone, right? Like so, normally, this is how I would expect a near mint to come in from your stack of stuff. So this is Bought this for $13. Super happy with it. Flaming Carrot Comics number 21. But you can see here, I don't know if you can see closely, the book itself has a board in the middle as well to give it additional protection.
Yeah.
So that's what you get. And you can rely on the grade. Like I'm looking at this and you may have undergraded it again.
Well, we're really technical. I mean, the one thing about the type of grading that I feel is accurate, I grade books to sell like I grade books to buy. So it's a technical, you know, a 9.2 to a 9.4, it can be subjective quite a bit. So some people, but there's some objective numbers that we use. So there's a lot of measurements. By the way, I love those books. I like the picture frame. I've had those. Hey, that's for my PC. I've had those. My brother sold me those. I remember how much I bought them for. I bought those from my brother in the 80s. So
I was going to say too, for Near Mint Minus, like what I would expect from one of those books, as I graded those. I assume there's probably a color break that's longer than what you would expect for a Near Mint. That's really probably the only thing that is wrong with it. Or there's like a tiny corner fold.
I can see one tiny color breaking tick, but it's tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a little bit here, but that's, you know, other than that, it's
interesting.
Really
CGC, Rachel and I have been discussing CGC has seemed to lighten up on that, but because of the 9.9s and 10.0s. But actually, when I had Rachel learn how to grade, I was going to show her, and I said, "Look, this is how I learned," and I hand her the Overstreet price, the Overstreet grading guide. Have you ever used that?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of stuff just there.
Yeah. Overstreet's a little tighter than the CGC grading guide. Their specifications are a little bit tighter, and we're both really aware of that.
Yeah. I feel like we're probably somewhere in the middle of those two things as far as like how we approach grading, because like we're not in the market of like trying to grade a 9.9. Like I mean, I can't say never because who knows what'll happen, in a year, but I doubt that we'll ever do that.
We're not there yet because we don't have a muscle for that yet. So we're really good at knowing what defects would stop something from being a 9.8 or a 9. See, Rachel probably graded these and said, I don't like that spine tick for a 9.4.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's not a 9.4. That's kind of how we go. If it's not 9.6, it has things that we can see with the naked eye. You shouldn't be able to see anything with the naked eye on a 9.6, right?
Yeah.
9.2 should still be really crisp. They're very high grade. I mean, they should be crisp, fresh looking, almost indistinguishable defects where you really have to dig in for them. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of people will grade a very fine as a near mint minus, and very fines have a lot more wear on them. They have rounded corners. Yeah. There's just issues with an 8.5 that is not a 9.2, and that's the delta, right? It goes 8.5 to 9.0 to 9.2.
Yeah.
So we're technical, and it's hit or miss. We're not always right because we try to grade down. You know what I mean? But
yeah, and that's the thing is I've had more hits than misses.
That's the goal.
So and a lot of mine do go for grading. And we'll come to that in a minute. We do have CB's Bill.
Oh, hey, Bill.
Hey.
There you go. I love that people have graders anxiety. It means they care.
I probably care too much, Bill. I don't know.
I'm still getting over it. I mean, I love it. That's just our ethic. I mean, I'm that way when I buy books.
Well, we've all gotten books that were not the grade that it said it was, and it doesn't feel good if you overspend on a book or something. So it's like I'm always thinking about that when I'm grading. Like I look for defects. Like I'm like, where's the defect?
Yeah.
Like where is it?
She's great at finding something wrong.
I'm really good at that.
There's nothing like opening a box. I will talk to an empty room if I'm opening a box and someone said these are X grade, and they're not. It's like, oh, this is, I'll start talking out loud. Like, this isn't what you said, this isn't even close. It's in the same universe.
Yes, so, I know exactly what you mean. I'm just finding, I've got the original grades. I'm bringing those up now so I can actually talk you through what we got on the graded books. But that's a great example of like just the quality and what you can expect.
Thank you.
I do have like, this is my latest stack that you sent through. There's a few in here. This one in particular, I think.
Yeah.
There's a near mint, $30. Vigilante. That one is
The boy.
Like that one,
I love it.
There's like double middle cards in there.
Yeah, well, that particular book has really thick paper, by the way. And if you get a nail mark or something in there, really hard to get out. I do think you can find near mints of that, but it's one of the books. I think it's affordable enough that if you like really high grade, that's worth. It's funny the way you're shooting it. He really pops out on that newspaper. It almost looks 3D, right? Actually, that whole series has great covers. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, but we take pride in those near mint mints, and we know what they are. You know, we're not calling a near mint mint. We don't call every book a near mint mint. It goes through a lot. We have multiple people looking at that book before we get there. So I'm glad you got that. That looks really good on camera. I'll tell you that.
This is the benefit of this like overhead camera.
It looks great
of the stream. So at least you get to sort of see these up front. But honestly, I can't commend you enough in terms of, this will probably I'll take for grading, and see if I can get signed too. That's the other thing that I really like about getting the books is I know that they're going to be of a decent quality, so that when I do go to get books signed, you're pretty much confident that you're going to get at least in the ballpark of where that grade is anyway.
Don't you? I have a question for you. When you buy raw comic books, and you buy a lot, and you buy from other people, do you buy books that are not graded, and you're going by the price? Like in this price, it should be X grade. I mean,
no, very different. So you probably noticed all as you've noticed, I've got a threshold on.
Sure, we all do.
It's like it has to be depending on the age. It's more grade than it is price. If it's a book I want, then that's the reason why I keep coming back, is because I know that I can rely on your grading. That's more valuable to me than someone's price.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
So that's the piece that really gets me. That's why I join every week, or try to anyway.
Yeah.
The time difference is hard.
time difference is perfect for me, actually. It's great. It's like Tuesday morning first thing. The weekend one is always problematic because I'm doing other stuff. But the Tuesday one is great. I can have it on in the background and work, and miss out on some claims because of the lag in Australia. But other than that, I generally do okay, because to your point, Dave, I don't go and pick up those big keys for the most part. It'll be some of the more obscure stuff that you've got that's really high grade.
Right.
So yeah.
I bet that your collection, the books you're putting together, you're starting to really come together with some series and some. I know you really like that era. What year was that? Still only 35 cents. Was that
1978? I think
78. Did it start and end in 78 over a 3-month or a 2-month period?
So it's funny you should say that. It's a 5-month period. I'm going to do a video on this one because it's a 5-month period. 5-month period. 5-month period. It was a 5-month period, and essentially the entire run had still only 35 cent stamps in different forms.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'm slowly but surely picking through them. I'm trying to see if I can find one that's got a good example. Like if you think about the Hanna-Barbera books, the Marvel ones, they had them. Super Spider Stories had them. And just really obscure titles. So at the moment, I'm going around just collecting as many of those as possible.
I don't think that DC had a still only 35 cents period.
They may have done, but it wasn't as prolific as the Marvel one, which went on for 5 months. And the whole runs had that sticker. And then the last month, I think the 6th month, they put the 40 cents sticker on some titles inside the Starburst.
Oh, that's fun. I got to find one of those.
It's pretty ugly. So they'd obviously gone to print the 35 cents and then decided, actually, no, we need to put the prices up.
It's time. We've teased it enough. 5 months is enough.
Yeah. Let's go back to the chat for just a brief second. So we've got John's Comics with Kids. Hey, John. Good to see you.
Hey, John. How are you?
Hello.
I put a face to still only 35 cents now.
Right. Isn't it great?
I bought a lot of books. This is a reaction. Bought a lot of books from various platforms. No one provides the service and grades like you guys do. So I absolutely agree with you, Action.
Thank you, Action. We care. I mean, Rachel and I really do care. So I'm glad it shows, you know.
And then we've got Heroes for Hire Comic Club. Hello, everyone. Good to see you too.
Hello.
Here's a question for you, Dave. Is there a book that you used to have, but for whatever reason sold or got rid of, but would like to have that book back in your PC?
Yes, Iron Man #1.
Right.
I had an Iron Man #1. I bought a set of 1 through 170, a Monterey collection set, and they were incredible. But the first 30 issues were pretty low grade, and then he started to buy them himself. This particular known collection, or they're just like pedigree level books. He started to buy them around the 30s in the numbering, right? Yeah. So my #1 was a 7.0 and I sold it, but it's the only Iron Man #1 I've ever owned. That book used to be kind of poo-pooed. People used to kind of make fun of it because it wasn't the first appearance of Iron Man, and it wasn't the first time he's had his own title or, you know, been premier in a title. So as time has gone on, since the time I sold it to now, I would love a nice copy of that book because of what it is, you know, that whole class of '68, all those #1s, but also because of the cover. I think it's an incredible cover with that deep purple and blue and all, you know, all those really deep colors. It's iconic. So that's one. It's probably not the one you would think it would be. There's some golden age horror that I really like. But I'm kind of waiting to really even take a run at that because I like books in grade, but I understand that when in grade is a 7.0, it's a 7.0 if you can't get a higher grade. I'm not as crazy about that anymore. I used to think everything had to be a 9.8, and I think I've taken on a lot more of the collector's ethos rather than the investor's ethos, which is I'd much rather have a cheaper copy that sometimes even looks better than the 9.8.
Yes.
Like it's like the centering's better, the page quality. I was telling Rachel, I would go all the way down to a 9.2 sometimes for page quality if the book presents like I want it to.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have a 9.2 with white pages than a 9.4 with off-white white. Now I'm getting geeky and technical, but no, that's me, right? It's like I really want white pages for longevity. I just think the longevity of the book, it's a healthier book in my mind, you know.
I absolutely 100% agree with you. My collecting's changed. I was 9.8 or nothing, and now it's very much I want the book. I don't care if it's sometimes I don't care if it's to your point, a 9.2, a 9.4, 9.6, because as you just mentioned, that some of those issues are negligible. And so as long as you've got the book, and I'm actually going more back to raws as well. So
keeping them that way and not slabbing them.
Yeah. But it's a fine line. It's sort of got to have a really deep meaning for me, or I'm going to flip it, but very rarely flip. I don't do too much selling at the moment. It's much more getting in, especially with prices the way they are. So we have Michael as well. Saying
Michael.
Hey, Mike.
So maybe we'll get
those are some familiar names.
That's what I thought.
We know them.
Shall we do the graded books?
Let's do it.
Yes. Now, Rachel did mention, because like I said, she got anxiety about it. She read it wrong.
I know. At first, I thought that we did everything horrible, and then I was like, "Oh, I don't know how to read it."
Everything came in under. I thought she was going to have a heart attack.
No. Did not get under. You did not get under.
First.
Oh, I think one you may have got under.
Yes.
But that was it. Like the rest of them were all there.
It was like a happy under.
My camera's just gone off.
Oh no.
Well, Action Jackson's on here. Action Jackson ran 50% with the group he got from us, but they were all 9.6s and 9.8s, which was okay in that case. I mean, so it's hit or miss. Sometimes I think it's what grader you get and what era you're grading. The consistency is a little off, but not in a way I don't understand. I think it would be different for me on CGC if I didn't get it. I get it.
Okay.
Oh, can you hear us? I can't see your face.
I'm talking us through it.
You can hear me though now, right?
I can hear you. Yeah. I can see you. I can see you on the screen on the top left. I could see the movement on the top left. So you got some stuff going there.
Yeah. Okay. So I can at least present on here, and I can talk.
No.
My camera's gone off for some unknown reason, and I don't know why. I think it's overheated, which would be classic.
That's funny.
Well, let's start with this, and hopefully it will come back. Otherwise, I might need to dial back in with another camera and see how that goes.
Okay.
This Avengers 125. You might remember this. This was one that you put on. You had as an auction, from memory.
Raw.
That was the raw one.
Can you blow that up? Can you make that the?
Yeah, let's make it the big one. There you go. So I'll move the Vigilante out of the way. So this is an Avengers 125.
That looks
classic
great.
Cover, with Thanos in the background, and that's part of the reason why I wanted this, because it's such a great book.
I love that Thanos cover. He looked quite different back then, but I really like that cover.
Yeah, it's a great one, and I think the first, or maybe it's not the first one with Thanos and the Avengers, but I just thought that was a timely cover. This one, looking at my details, let me just quickly check.
I have it in my email too.
I think you had it as a near mint. Yes, near mint. And I paid what, $190 for it. Ended up getting it for $190. So it graded out the 9.6. So that aligns.
That's sick.
It's great.
So
that's what you want every time. I mean, it's not feasible to get that every time, but as a buyer, oh my God, they undergraded it. There's no better feeling than that.
Yeah. So really happy with that. And again, you can see.
Oh yeah, look at that back cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. And again,
it has white pages.
Yes. Oh, and that's the other thing. Yeah, white pages as well. So this is exactly your point, Dave. It's like this is a 9.6. I'm quite happy to have a 9.6. I love a 9.8, but this is beautifully presenting book, great cover, and a great one to put in slab. Right.
So can you see any defects in that book personally? I mean, can you see anything wrong with it?
I can see in the light. I can see maybe one color breaking spine tick, just tiny though, like very imperceptible.
It's supposed to be under 1/32 of an inch, but yeah, I see it.
Yeah, just that one there. That's probably it. And then there's maybe
that's why we graded it a 9.4.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this more later, but it's interesting to me. I think that CGC, this kind of proves that CGC has adjusted a little bit. Yeah. I feel like if you would have sent that out a year ago, it might have been different.
Yeah.
But who knows? It looks really good though.
Yeah, I agree.
No one can
It's
hear
still
me.
a good looking book. Oh. It's just my whole point with that was that if you saw that next to a 9.8, is the 9.8 markedly better for you to pay double or triple?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the question that, for me, it's like, I think that type of book, if it was in my PC, would be just fine. Yeah, I've just geared down a bit. I do like 9.8s, but man, the prices can be so aggressive, Is
your camera still being weird?
Give me 1 minute.
Oh, sure. I can hear you still. Oh, your mic went out. I can still hear you.
I'll show a book why he's doing that. I was going through like the kind of backstock that I have that I just have put away right now, and at some point I'd like to sell it. I have this entire run I got from a single collector. He had the whole set, bought him new. It's just immaculate. This is Sandman Mystery Theater number. What number is this? I can't read it.
I'm not there to read it for you.
It's number 58. The guy's got pennies in his eyes. This is the kind of stuff I actually really like it. I mean, I have the entire set, and they're just immaculate, clean books. Did I buy these because they're hot? Absolutely not. They are not hot. This is Sandman Mystery Theater, which is the different Sandman, right? Is this Sandman. So it was the first Sandman that was in the pre-code Golden Age. And these are great. It ran for years. Like I said, But these are the things I put away. I don't think there's a lot of interest, and no one really wants to spend any money. They don't want to spend $5 on one of these. But these are near mint. They're like really nice. So my whole thing is I focus on that part of comic books. I will have these put away, and at the right time, someone's going to come up to me and like, I always wanted to put a set together of those, but I can't find this issue. And like, boom, here's every issue. They're all in 9.6 or 9.8, you know? So even 9.4 of these are tough because they weren't heavily collected. That's the kind of stuff I actually get excited about putting sets together. I might be one of 20 people on earth that are excited about a set, you know, of some goofy side set that I've put together, but it's nice to get them in grade. So I really get focused on that.
Still only, are you there? I could hear you before, but I don't know if he can hear us.
He's having technical difficulties. I'm going to try to keep it going for him.
Well, I'm going to show my cat. This is my cat.
Yeah, do that.
This is
How
Oliver.
about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I hear you.
Okay. So unfortunately, what's happened is my main camera has decided to overheat. So I've only got the one camera. So I can talk and use this camera here.
Okay.
Very good.
Sorry,
So
that
at least we're working again, which is good. So thank you for covering for me. Well, we only really need this view anyway, right?
That's
Well,
true.
yeah, it'll have to do.
Yeah. We'll pretend
My
your
normal
face is
production
there.
value is out the window, so that's fine. Cool. So Dave, did you want to continue showing those off, and then
No, please. I was just trying to hold the fort down. I mean, I didn't bring out the Sandman Mystery Theaters because I thought that they'd bring so much excitement. I just happened to have them like right here.
You just had them to hand. Okay.
Everyone's looking for this.
All right. Next we have Amazing Spider-Man 265, which I got from you as well.
Can you make that the main screen? Can you make that the main screen?
Oh yeah,
my eyes are.
Screen.
I don't have my glasses.
Everyone's just looking at my dad's face.
Yeah, get that guy off of there. Oh yeah, Black Fox or Silver. What is that? The first appearance of Silver Fox, right?
First appearance of Silver Sable, Black Fox.
Silver Sable.
Yeah, first Silver Sable. So this one, what did we get? Let me just check my list here. ASM 265. You had a near mint again. This cost me $28. And then graded at a 9.6. So again, we've gone one grade above. So
nice.
So that's a really nice top. That book has gone up and down. At one point, it was very, very expensive, and it's gone down since then. So you did really well to buy it raw, get a really good price on it, send it in yourself. You just saved a lot of money on that book. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I thought. I mean, yeah, may get additional spec, but who knows?
Yeah.
One of my favorites, and I know you love your horror, Dave. And this is, I don't know if this is technically horror, but I like to think of it as horror. This is Fear 13.
This is the belle of the ball.
Adventures, yeah, this one is one of my favorite, and actually the biggest surprise that I got coming back from grading this from memory. Adventure into Fear 13 was, you'd had it as a near mint minus and picked it up for $36. Now, I don't know if you've checked the 9.8s on this are like $2,000.
Yeah. Well, it's choppy. I mean, I don't know if every issue is going to get $2,000, how many people are in the market for that, but it's definitely one that's really hard to get in 9.8. You're not going to ever be disappointed to have that.
I actually looked it up. There's only 5 on the census. 9.8.
Only 5 in 9.8.
And that's one of them right there.
Yeah, that's one of the 5. So if you notice, when you have the white over there on that side of the book, it helps in grading sometimes, because if it was perfectly centered and it was no white visible at all, you might not have gotten that grade. Yes. But because you can't visibly see those defects that may be there, that we still look at. Remember, when we look at a book, we don't look at it like this. We look at them like this. So it's an unorthodox way to grade a comic book. And I'm showing that I have light hitting it. We follow the light on the book.
Yeah.
but a book like that coming back at 9.8, that's a score. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you wake up, jump out of bed for every day. Is like, can I get something inexpensive and turn it into something? Now with that known that book's worth a lot of money, you're going to sell it?
No.
I actually have a question for you, Dave. Not my dad, other Dave. Did you have CGC press this when you sent it?
Did
you have them press it?
Yeah, so I'm doing my own pressing at the moment, but I ran out of time, so I took this one and got, so every single one, especially when they're books like this, I'll get them to at least do it, because I just think it's worth, to your point, Dave, right? Like if you've got a book, it just tidy it up. As long as they don't damage it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it just looked really good to me. So I was really happy when that came back in 9.8.
That's a slapper, man. That's a score.
That one was that's a good one. But even then, it's still, there's some brilliant ones that came back. Alien Worlds number 4 that I bought from you. Now this one, I think near mint. So it's nailed it on the grade, and I got this for $65. Dave Stevens goodness, really happy to get that. And again, if I was to go on eBay, and buy this, it's probably about the same with the gradings fees inside it. So I'm happy. And then I can safely say this is a book that I purchased raw and then graded. So just a nice story to add.
Such a pretty cover. It's such a pretty cover.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. But it's there's one of your twisted tales.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was on the back.
Who's the artist there, Rachel?
Corbin.
That's my kid right there.
There you go. Yeah.
That's one of Richard Corbin, to me, one of his best covers ever.
Yeah, it's a great looking cover, that one. Don't tempt me, Dave. I'll have to buy some. I'm like the amount of Richard Corbin stuff you put up. I'm like, should I do it?
I showed just about every Corbin book we sold. I mean, from the biggest to that,
Yeah. This is one which you've had a few of these come up, and this one. So I'm on an Airboy 10. I've got to get the whole run now, because of this book. So I bought this from you. This was a near mint again, $60. Came back in 9.6. Black cover, very hard to get, as you know. But that's why I bought this.
Yeah, that's sick.
That back
cover. The reason anyone would buy that, I think. The front cover's cool, but
the front cover's cool, but that's good. But it's also then this is a good example of the books that you show send me down, or send collectors down rabbit holes. Like, it gives me something to now check. Like, I didn't realize the Airboy run and what they did with it, and what it was inspired by. So now I'm going back and collecting the whole Airboy run as well.
Are there other Eclipse titles that you found that you like?
Again, it's all started with Dave Stevens, but I haven't dug in too deep. It's like I'm very much pick something, find something, really go deep on that.
Okay.
And then once that's done, I'll move to the next thing. So I haven't had a chance to look at all the other Eclipse titles.
Yeah, they'll come up from time to time.
Tell a lot. Is Eclipse did Miracle Man, right? From memory?
Yes.
Yes. So that's my first one. Yeah.
Those are cool too.
But I have a full run of that. So that one I already had. So I didn't. Yeah, this is.
I've been trying to remember that you collect them now and hold them aside for you. I haven't forgotten, because I know you come in and you ask about it. I try to remember that you're collecting them.
No, I don't think I briefed you on this one prior to the show. But this was Marvel's #1. No, Marvel's 0. Sorry. Love
that the acetate cover?
No, that's not. It's just the plain one.
Okay.
But this one you had as a near mint. So
is that still a Ross cover? That's a Ross cover, yeah.
Ross cover, yeah.
I remember selling those.
So I had that.
Nice.
And then this one, I think, is the cover you're talking about, Rachel.
Yeah. That looks good. Because I had gone and sent out a bunch of pre-screen 9.8s to CGC for moderns, and I was shooting 20 for 20 or 25 for 25. So at least I can still do that.
That looks really good in that case.
It does. I like those.
That's what I thought. Those two in particular went really well. And again, this is another one that sent me on a Alex Ross hunt.
Yeah,
Picking
all of
up.
those acetate covers are fantastic. They really are. Yeah.
And the nice thing is you get the back covers are not like, it's not an ad. You get a bit of blurb that works.
More about the book, yeah.
Really happy to pick those and get those
Nice.
from you. But I didn't brief you on these, but these were exactly as you graded them. So yet another great example. Another surprise, which I've got a 9.8 of this, but when I saw this on your channel, I had to. I'll pick up Invaders every day of the week. Particularly Union Jack, which holds a special.
I do.
Play. This one with Invaders 8, you had a near mint minus.
Right? It wasn't cheap though. We weren't selling those cheap.
$40.
Yeah, I mean that's more than a lot of people are asking, but they don't also have high grade copies, and this is a good example. I think sometimes people might balk at my pricing, but it's the quality of the book that I'm selling more than just even our my brother always says our 9.2s are 9.4s. He's not, when he buys something from us, he usually wants to find 9.4 raws, and he'll say, but with you guys, I'll take a 9.2. And it's just because we're strict on grading. We're not trying to be under, I promise. We're really not. We're just kind of following a path that we know is successful. And sometimes we can be a grade off too, the other way. So
I know that you have one that's lower than what we said, but I will say too with these, well, kind of like what I was saying earlier, I do think that CGC has changed some things on their end because, like, I would assume if you sent this a year ago, you might have gotten a 9.4 on it.
Yeah, I don't have the book that I'm just looking through my list, and I couldn't find the book that was. It was only 1 or 2 grades underneath.
It was it was like a 6.0 to a 6.5, something like
that.
It
was the Bernie Wrightson signature one.
So I do have this.
It was half a point, which we could talk about it.
There's half a point. I do have it. I was trying to work out which one it was. So
I remember.
This is the one. I think.
Yeah, I do. We said it was a 7.0. It came back 6.5.
So this is House of Mystery 194. Where is it? Yeah, 194. You had it estimate. Actually, to be honest, you had it as an F/VF.
7.0.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Picked it up for 100, but it's not a bad grade in this for me in this one. It doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen once in a while. That's a good book, though. I mean, the nuance of having that signed by Bernie Wrightson is that it really does increase that price in a slab way more than it is raw. So. Because now people are starting to send in these books that they got signed at conventions in the 80s, and that's a really cool book. That's nice.
It's a great book. It's a great book, and again, it, as I say, I can understand how this wouldn't have got. I mean, the other problem is like whether or not, because this was, I think, pressed by CGC, so maybe they did some, trying to make excuses, trying to get some coke going. But that could have also contributed to it. I mean,
no, I think we would have to get into the graders' notes, but it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be either up or down, and if it's more than half a grade, then I start getting concerned. Like for us to be 3 grades or 2 grades under, that's concerning to me. We're being a little bit too tight, but that's why Rachel's looking at it from that perspective. Like, we don't want to change our process. It's too successful. No. However, we also don't want to grade things 2 or 3 grades under because that's not good. That's not good for us buying or selling,
So here you go. That's the stack you got. So 1 miss, and it's not even a miss. It's like it's.
I know, it's hard to top a point. Yeah.
So that's
I think that's above industry standard. Most graders in it. There's a couple of places. My comic shop does a pretty good job. Torpedo Comics can do a pretty good job. They have a lot. I think they have a lot of young graders. I really do think this generation, Rachel's generation, as they come up, they're the graders of the future. And I think they're all looking for something wrong. Like, you can't get one by me. I see that small corner crunch, this 1/34 of an inch, you know. So that's good because my eyes aren't like they used to be, you know. It takes two to tango. That's why we have a good system that we both look at each other's stuff.
It's really, really, honestly, I'm super happy with all of these. You've done.
Congratulations.
Always rely on your grading. Got a couple of other things that came through today, this week as well, or recently. So, I mean, this is the other thing that I love is the eclectic tastes that I can pick up. Like this Doctor Who issue 1. I think you've got that as a near mint minus. So yeah, that'll go in the PC. I'll keep that raw. I probably won't get that one graded.
That one's
Don't
cool.
ask me what doctor it is because I don't know.
It's Doctor.
Well, that's the first appearance because it's in Marvel Premiere, and then they had the run, and they had the same guy, whichever Doctor Who this was, in both of those runs.
I haven't shown this yet.
Did you get that Doctor Who with that werewolf cover? Do you have a copy of that?
I do not have that yet.
That's one of the best. That cover just slaps. I forget if it was in the Marvel Premiere run or if it was in the Doctor Who run.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it might have been the Marvel Premiere, actually.
I do too. I'm thinking it's like 2 or 3 issues in, and there's this cover with a great werewolf, like fantastic.
Also, this is the Walt Simonson cover. So it's hard, like you can just see the signature down here, but really good. And again, like I think that's for high grade, $24. I think if I was at a con and saw that, I'd be picking it up all day long.
Yeah, you know what the problem with that is if you pick that up and it's a very fine plus, you're really disappointed. You overpaid.
Yeah.
You know,
this one I'm very happy with. $28 near mint minus. Mr. Miracle number 6. It's
killer Jack Kirby cover.
Yeah, how do you find them? Like, where do you get? Is it like, are they?
It's my main focus. So and then people know that. So when they watch my YouTube channel, they'll offer me their Bronze Age books or their Copper Age books. And it's so funny. I think that if I was a coon dog, I'd be finding coons. You know what I mean? I'm not going to find kangaroos necessarily. So I'm always looking for bronze and copper, and I think I find a lot of stuff that other people may not even care about or look at. So, for instance, I don't think anyone's running to Mr. Miracle right now. It's not the hottest title. I would love a nice set of Mr. Miracles. So I'm not buying for heat. I'm buying for the era, the grade, just like you. It's like you're not going to tell me what I like. I like whatever I do like, but I know when I do get it, I want a 9.4. And I want a really high grade copy. Now, within a collection like that, I might get 20 or 30% of the collection that doesn't match the mark.
Yeah,
I might have to go through 600 books to bring 100 books to that show that we do because we filled out the lower grade stuff. And that's why we're selling that. We're selling that on Whatnot right now, but it looks like we just started Whatnot, and it's going good so far. They got us working, So I'm really excited to get on there and be able to sell some other things, but bring that same eclectic taste, everything from Archie to, some weird underground that you can't even show the cover. So that's kind of what we got.
Well, I mean, I didn't get a chance to touch is it all auction based or is it you're doing like fixed price? Is that how it works? It's like, because I prefer it's both. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna list a lot of books on there that we've never listed before. Sets, slabs. We'll have a store, and then whenever we go live, it's 100% auctions.
Right. Okay.
At least right now.
And what's the grades? Are they? That's one thing that I think is missing from Whatnot, which is probably why I should check it out in terms of yours. They generally don't give decent grades on Whatnot is as a real crapshoot, I found.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When we were live yesterday, we showed like some stuff that we hadn't graded and then stuff that we had shown on Instagram claim sales. And it was interesting to see the people in the chat being like, "Oh, you graded these." Like, I guess that's just like not a thing that happens over there, I guess. So yeah, it's interesting.
That could be a real point of difference because if I knew that what I was bidding on was graded, and I knew that's a lot easier. Like that's the biggest problem. It's all cover buys with Whatnot mostly, and a lot of trust.
It's dangerous. I mean, especially if you get FOMO in a moment, and next thing you know, you've spent too much on a book that's not the grade you want it to be. It's like a double whammy, you know?
Yeah. Before we go, I know we're almost at time.
My side quest.
We've got side quest in the house, and then who packs the books in Whatnot?
Like whenever we sell and whatnot, we pack them the same way we do Instagram.
It's exactly the same, right? Yeah. But don't they calculate the shipping, or is it your shipping policy that you just usually use on claim sales?
They have their own shipping policy. It's actually a little cheaper than ours because I think they have like some kind of connection with USPS. But if it's under £5, it's like just under $9.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to bring up your link so everyone can find out more. So if you haven't already, please go to youtube.com/FuturePast Vintage Collectibles. There is obviously an Instagram page that you've got as well, which let me see if I can bring that up.
It's at the same thing too up on the screen. It's the same app.
Yeah, the only thing that is a different name is going to be our Whatnot, which is it's just Future Past, right, Rachel? Future Past
Comics, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if this works.
And this is our first week on Whatnot, so
there's your Instagram page. So you can see them on Insta, and I think I can also bring up. Let's see what else we've got.
Here, I had a book. I'll show as we walk out the door here.
There's the YouTube channel as well. So yeah, if you haven't already, please go and check out Future Past Vintage Collectibles.
Here's a fun book. I had some books in here I was looking at, and just obscure stuff. Here's a copy of Sabrina, Teenage Witch #1. Do you have one of these?
A teenage? No, I do not. Don't send me down a rabbit hole.
Don't show him that.
Well, don't worry. They don't show up that often. I mean, it's not something that you're going to be able to just go out and find a copy of. I picked this copy up, and it has a tear on it. Look.
Oh.
I picked it up with a group of books I was buying just because I don't ever see them. Outside of that, it's like a 9.2, 9.4. Now, I can get into this tear and layer it where it's supposed to be. It looks like it's pushed out. It looks like I just need to go in and I could probably make it look. But this is the kind of book that I really kind of get excited about, believe it or not. It's more of this kind of stuff, really nostalgic to me, but also kind of hard to find. I like Sabrina. I like Josie and the Pussycats. I mean, I like that stuff because I used to watch those cartoons when I was a kid, you know. So, there's a plop.
There you go. There you go. I did a plop. I thought that would be good to. That's another one from you. And I was keeping this back because I wanted to do a special video on this, but this is again another one of those that is, you know, I would not have bought plop. It was on there. It was, you know, graded well, and wanted a copy of it. So now I'm on a plop run as well. So
I love that cover.
That's a really nice book right there.
It's such a good book. Yeah. So I managed to get plop #2 recently. But there's a couple that I've held over that I didn't show today that will be in a future video.
Okay.
There's a couple of really big ones which you both know about anyway because you packed them and sold them. So, but they'll be in a future video.
We recognize our stuff. I mean, when every book you showed, I'm recognizing, kind of having a memory of selling that. You too, Rachel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're putting together a really nice collection, man. I'm happy for you. You're putting together some great books.
Let's move this back to the main screen before we say goodbye. Apologies for the technical difficulties with my camera. I will work out why it overheated.
I'm so sorry that happened.
Fortunately, you don't get the fact that I went silent because the camera once StreamYard loses the camera, it loses the audio too if it's the main camera. So maybe there's a lesson there where I'll put my other camera on so that if that ever dies, I've at least got this one, which is good. But I wanted to thank you both for coming today. It's been absolutely brilliant to actually chat with you and talk through the books and the grades. Hopefully, we get to do this again soon. And
sure.
I'll see you in person at some point, Dave. again.
Well, maybe we can grab you and bring you to our channel.
Wonderful. I'd love to. Yeah, be great.
Yeah, we'd like to do that because me and Danny, my brother, we were going to do a live stream today, but that's the thing. I don't ever have the time, because there's some things I really want to chat about in the comic community, because I'm really an advocate for people knowing what they're buying. I really am. I think you should know what grade a book is. At the very least, know that if it has a stain or something on it, for goodness sake,
Yeah.
Because I think in the long run, if we're all doing a better job of knowing what we have, it's healthier for the comic community, period. I don't want people to feel ripped off or be ripped off, so, and that's if I was selling books or not.
Yeah.
That just has to do with being part of a community of people who are carrying these great forms of art, both in the literature they provide and the pictures that they show us. And I just want to, while I'm doing it, I want to make sure to kind of push it forward in the right way. Your cat is awesome, Rachel, by the way.
He's having a good time back there.
It's one of the prettiest cats ever. Oh, thank you, SideQuest.
No, SideQuest, I wanted to bring this one up because this was a nice little comment at the end from SideQuest.
Thank you.
People ask me if I have and they recognize me. I've had people recognize me all over the place from the pressing video that I did. And that's really not the kind of channel that we have. But I do think it's good because I am really careful in the way I press, and I don't use chemicals, and everything is like natural, and I don't wet clean books. I dry clean them, and I'm kind of old school about that. So I don't use the blue light, ultraviolet light. I don't use any of the, a lot of people are using peroxide on comic books. I don't do any of that. Ooh. So yeah, well, I'm actually a little concerned about it because it does change the texture of the paper. Yeah. And I've tested on that stuff and I don't care for it. So I think my old school nature is good. There needs to be, there are other people doing other things and that's on them. But for me personally, I feel really, I have to feel comfortable about what I'm doing.
I think when you're selling, exactly, even more so, right? Because it's your name and your reputation behind it. So I'm with you. And I prefer to have a book as it is. Blue LEDs, I've dabbled with it, but I've had sort of limited results. And you're right, you can overstretch it and really damage the book if you do. But like pressing too, right? Same thing. Even pressing, some people can really damage a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing.
Permanently. Some of that stuff can be fixed. Like I get books that have been pressed before, and in most cases I can improve them.
Yeah.
And the improvements I'm doing is to make it look like it wasn't pressed, because I get it like, oh, this thing's obviously pressed. And then I kind of freshen it up where it doesn't look like
Yeah.
Anyway.
We do have one more question. Has anyone asked you to sign a book yet?
Yes.
They have.
Not me.
Somebody needs to ask Rachel to sign a book.
Yeah. What about me? I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that.
I have a friend of mine, Lettuce Comics, who I think is in the chat. Hey, how are you, Lettuce? Good to see you.
Hi, Lettuce Comics.
He started this great idea, which is the generic comic book. I'm sure you know about this, Dave. The Marvel.
I do.
Comic. Yep. So he's him and I both got generic comic books ready to be signed by different comic community YouTubers, you name it. That's our plan. So Rachel, if I do catch you in person, then yes, you're going to be on the generic comic book stuff.
Yes.
You got to start working on your John Hancock, Sarah. How are you going to do
it? You called me Sarah. That's okay.
Rachel. Welcome to my help. That's it. I always call my daughters the wrong names.
My name's on the screen, and you still said it wrong.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's been great having you. As I say, if you haven't already, please go to Future Past Vintage Collectibles. Check out their claim sales. When are your claim sales? Tell everyone about the claim sales. You've got the spiel. Let's do it.
You want me to do it?
Sure.
Yeah, you're the one.
Okay.
You're the
every
one.
Monday on Instagram, we go live at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and now every Friday at 5:30 p.m. we're going live on Whatnot, and then we'll have other sales throughout the week too.
Yep. We're only going to do one show a week on Instagram, so we're going to kind of tighten that up, and I'm going to really focus on just bringing more of the high grade stuff. I really want to move everything else to Whatnot, but it's tough.
High grade sale on Instagram.
Yeah, do it every week.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to. I will catch up with you there, I'm sure. Thanks again. And look, this is the end of the show. We will catch you all on next week's Merry Monday Mailcall Show. And thanks again to our guests. See you soon.
Thanks again for having us. Thank
No
you.
worries.
Bye, everybody.
Don't forget to check out our other great videos, as well as our weekly live stream, the Merry Monday Mailcall Show. Every Monday at 7:30 a.m. Australian Eastern, Sunday 5:30 p.m. Eastern and 2:30 p.m. Pacific, as well as follow us on Instagram, Facebook and X at still only 35 cents. Enough said.